So
Just tell everybody, let's welcome everybody. You're on the Armchair Pundits with Fennell Norton, Catherine White, and my internet is unstable like me. That's how I feel today. And I'll say that first, let's say, when I was in first grade, you may not know this about me, but I had a list on the back of my door of all my boyfriends. And I had at least 21.
yeah, 21.
Leaf Garrett, David, what's it? This like all the HR Puffin stuff. The kid that was in that. I used to have like all of my boyfriends. So I'll say that you and I have our favorite boyfriends. Gavin Newsom, explicit is on our list. I think. I mean, he may not like to
Yes,
be
he
on,
is.
but he's on the
Yeah,
back.
he might not want to be on the list, but he's on the list. And so I see some of our regular people are
Yeah,
joining,
yeah,
and so I'm
yeah.
really excited. Willie is here this week. She was not feeling well last week, so she's here this week. So I'm happy to see her. So that's great. But we have a lot to talk about tonight. We can give folks a few minutes, but we always do much better with when these things get on YouTube. But we have a lot to talk about. A lot to
We
talk
do.
about
We have a
tonight.
lot to talk about, and I'll say that like I think about the weekend. I don't know everybody else how you're feeling tonight. It's cold as shit out. Fennell was saying you have like your bay, you live on the bay and it's frozen out there. I mean, people are just let us know. Do you guys have snow? I have snow, but on top of it is a concrete ice. So we have the weather to contend with all this bullshit going on. And then also, we haven't stopped. Fennell and I have talked probably because we're working on the Yes campaign in Virginia. So today, I mean, we just looked at each other. We're like, man, there's so much going on, so much to talk about. Do we have any talk left in us?
I suppose that we do. So where do you want to start? So we can start with the Yes campaign, or you want to just start with good news because we'll see if we'll get more people who join. I'm thinking that they're cold and wrapped up tonight, but
I'm not.
where do you want to start?
I was just worried about you're talking to you, my friend. So let's go into what we were really been thinking about all weekend is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And basically, a lot of ugly, a lot of bad, and we always try to find the good. And your writing has been a voice breaking through the ice. And I feel like I want more people to read what you have to say. We have always went back in history and time from abolition times to inform our work. And I think, I'd like to talk about what was hitting us Friday is all these damn elected people that tell us all the time, give us money, send us emails, and then they're like, well, it's up to you guys to fight for your country. And I think we were like, we were like, okay, we know it is up to the people, but geez, Louise, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I was thinking about when I wrote this piece, and
Okay.
it was called "No One's Coming to Save Us." But the whole point is, should we really be okay with that? Because I hear we have been saying it for years. No one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And
Right.
everybody talks about all of the movements that have occurred, and in those movements, it was the people who actually saved it. And I don't doubt that, and
Right.
I absolutely believe that. But I also believe that in this moment, in this decade that we're in, with all the additional resources that we have, the people who we elect, who we send money, we trust them, we work for them, we do all of these things for them. And every time we ask for something, they're like, "It's the people. You guys are on your own. The people will save us." And all I'm simply saying is that we have an expectation that they do more.
Yeah.
And by that I mean we keep talking about this existential moment that we're in, this constitutional crisis that we're in. And when we're in a constitutional crisis this big, especially with the megaphones that are not where they were, centuries ago when these
Right.
things were happening, where people are getting all of this crazy information, propaganda, disinformation, misinformation, we could use a little help. And so as we are sending our money, every week someone's asking for dollars, we could use a little help in this game right now. And so I have an expectation that our leaders have a consistent message, that it's really clear, that they are out there all singing from the same sheet of music, helping people understand what is at stake when you lose a democracy. Some would argue that we don't have a full democracy, but what it's not today is an autocracy led by a dictator. And so that would be significantly worse. And I think our leaders have an obligation to help people understand what that is and what's at stake.
It's almost like surreal because it's like right now we see like even last week before we headed into the government shutdown and it took the killing of just two people. We know people have been killed before. There's an African American young man shooting his gun. His last name escapes me. It's Greg Porter. And he was killed by ICE. We know that they've been disappearing people. I guess this just was pretty. And I just heard tonight that there's some breaking news that maybe his killers have been named. So with some good news on that, I don't know if how it was released. I got to look into that. But if anybody has that information, yeah, Keith Porter, thank you. Right, it was the young man that was killed. That then we're heading into shutdown, and it starts the same kind of game. Oh, we're going to shut it down. We've been through this so many times. It's sort of like the boys cried wolf. It's like, okay, we're going to shut the government down. Well, damn, we knew this was coming at us, and here we are now having the discussion. Do we say the words abolish ICE? Democrats have to go strong with this. And it really is about more than abolishing ICE. It's funding a government that's not following the Constitution, that's killing its people, that is using paramilitary equipment against people. I mean, all this shit, if you know what they're using and you talk to veterans on the street, vets of wars, and they're seeing what these guns that they have and some of the equipment, this is from war. They're playing games with us. Why are we funding them in general? And why do we have the biggest military, budget, and we're not feeding people? And so we're sitting there playing games with, we'll fund some of it, we'll fund some the other part. Well, let's retrain ICE. So for me, I feel like not only am I frustrated that it's right apparent to most of us what's happening, and our leadership needs to be talking about it every day, like you said. Just say that again, what you'd like to see.
Yeah, so this is what is so important is that we're
Yeah.
having this conversation. The folks who are here on
Yes.
this chat with us are having this conversation, but I'm going to tell you that 7 out of 10 people have no idea what's happening. They are
Where are they?
doing what they're doing.
What are they
Listen,
doing?
I this is what I say. I call them the confused, the disenfranchised, the disengaged, the
Now,
misinformed.
you used to call them the dummies. Now what?
No, you can't because they are living life. They are hanging on. And what I'm also simply saying is that even those people who are confused and misinformed and disengaged and
Right.
all of those things, they still need to know. So it is our responsibility, ours, but also the responsibility of our leaders to ensure that every way
Right.
possible that we reach out to people to let them know what is at stake. Because even if you are hungry today,
Right.
even if you're tired today, if you're confused today, however bad it is today, under an authoritarian government, the way that they are going today, it will be worse. And the American people should know that.
Well, what is breaking through? When we talk about good, bad, and ugly, let's talk about some ugly stuff. The Epstein files, the big drop. It's almost like the whack-a-mole. One thing pops up and another pops up. Now we are all saying, where's Epstein files? And now they release more. And now there's some nasty stuff in those Epstein files. And there's a tipster that released some stuff about Trump's modeling agency. So there is a lot going on. And I think the Epstein files is breaking through for sure to people. And I know that we know by the numbers that the killing of Alex Pretty has also broke through. So people are seeing stuff. I think people are just one, like you said, if they don't feel like it impacts them, not sort of looking at it from a distance, like, well, I don't really have to worry about it. I'm not in Minnesota. I talked to somebody the other day on the phone. Just was a real estate agent. He's like, well, I'm just worried about my little neighborhood. I don't really not paying attention. So you're right. So what we need is a more concerted effort. And Lauren Burke's on the call. And I tell you what, as a media person, we talk about this all the time. And let's talk about the other thing, which is the bad. You see the First Amendment with Don Lemon and also Gloria Fort, that these Black journalists are elected. So let's talk about that, and also still the attack. What this is all about is the racist element of it. And let's just not forget, it's the replacement theory people, it's white supremacy, and this is still the plan. It's not changed. And we shouldn't, for us that kind of in the know, that's the no.
So let me say this. So we've been talking for 11 minutes.
Have
We've
we?
covered, yeah, almost 11 minutes.
I didn't think
And
I
we've
had it
covered like
in me, but
yeah,
okay.
So we have been talking for 11 minutes and we covered like a variety of things.
I know.
Now just imagine the average person trying to consume all of that. And
Mhm.
so it's really not possible. And that's why there has to be a consistent drumbeat to sort of help the
Right,
American people see what's at stake. If you are watching Fox News, they're going to consume something. Pete Buttigieg was on Fox News this week, which is really wonderful because
yeah,
we do need to be in more of those spaces to be able to tell the truth. We are never going to have everybody be in 100% agreement on anything.
right,
But on this thing about the Constitution, on this thing about people being killed in the streets, on this thing about people, having a president who just punches down constantly, that story has to be told in a way where people can see themselves and understand that they are not safe from that. And that is where I have an expectation that the leaders that we put in office come together, whether in the Senate, certainly, and in the House, certainly, and had a consistent team
yeah,
that is really taking these issues apart. This is part of the whole chaos theory. But if, as a party, you don't have a plan at the top of the house to deal with chaos and to understand how it plays out and what's happening in terms of how democracy or the Constitution and everything that we believe is being overturned, this 250-year project that we're in, that's what needs to happen because all of this stuff that we're talking about is just going to roll right over people and they're just not going to get it. So it does have to be really simplified in a way and in a meaningful way, which is why we keep talking about eggs. And all I'm saying is that it's bigger than eggs. It's bigger than going to the grocery store, but people feel that. So how do you take what's happening in terms of how you have a democratic society that's not autocratic? How do you take that and help it understand that the price of eggs, the price of your food, your groceries, all of these things matter. They're all
right.
tied into this whole thing that Donald Trump is doing. But you tell that story in a way that people can see it and feel it and understand it. That even though I may not like, I tell you guys this all the time and you laugh at me. And I say to you,
Right.
okay, so here's what we can agree on. I'm Black. And you may say, I never ever want to have you to dinner because basically I don't like Black people. And I can say, okay, good. I don't like you either. But what I don't like is somebody telling me what I can read. I don't like somebody telling me what church I have to go to. I don't like someone telling me what kind of dance I can do. I don't like any of those things. So if we can agree on that, then we can agree that I won't come to your house, you won't come to mine, but we don't want a dictator either. So I do think there'll be some different kinds of alliances that may get created through this. It may not be that one. But the point
Right.
is that there will be places that people agree and have to understand that in order to move forward, it is going to take us thinking differently about things. Maybe not that, but you get my point.
Well, I think, our point has always been when we see also these coalitions coming together, when we talk about coalitions of white and Black people, and I was loving the conversation we've had before about the abolitionist times, is that was, there was a lot of years before the Civil War when we look back at what people did before this, and there was a lot of people that came together and tried to make a difference. And I think we see that now. And I think that, when we talk to people and it's like, how's that anti woke stuff working out for you? It's not feeding your kids. It's not getting you to college. It's not helping your house be affordable. And you just listen to Trump himself. He even said about the cost of living for kids and houses. He's not really willing to change anything. He likes it the way it is. And maybe, I don't know, kids will maybe not get a house and that's okay. It's like one pencil, one doll, maybe no houses for kids. So I do think that people are recognizing that their life is not changing under Trump, and they're very frustrated by that. We do see if anybody saw anybody in the room ca catch the Saturday Night Live last night, we were having a kind of a giggle about it, where the mom finally told her kids, who are all trying to tell her for years how bad Trump is and he's a big liar, is that the mom is sitting there and she's finally coming around and she's like, "Well, I just might, he just might be not telling the truth." Did anybody watch this? It was so funny. But I think there is somewhat of the breakthrough on some people. So there's the good, when we talk the good, bad, and the ugly. Um, and then,
I'll give you another.
so let me just say the other good. Let's talk about some other good too. Democrat won. Taylor Rehmet won in Texas, in Fort Worth, flipped a Senate seat. People are paying attention. That's a huge the margin that gentleman won by. He's a machinist and an Air Force vet. He flipped that Senate seat in Fort Worth. was huge. It wasn't little. People,
Yeah.
their life isn't changing. So it is breaking through because messages on the ground that are running for office are getting through to people and people are pissed. They are voting.
Yeah, Ta-Nehisi,
I would,
Coates talked
yeah.
about that, and but he also talked about, which is why, and he also went back to the abolitionist movement too, because I think,
Mhm.
my favorite book, The Color of Abolition with, Julia Hirsch. But
Mhm.
one of the things is that these coalitions do get built and get formed, and I also talked about that in the piece that I wrote, that we really do need to see
Right,
Republicans come out and Democrats together to say at the end of the day, this really isn't a Democrat or Republican or independent issue. This is an issue about freedoms and how we wish to live. And
right.
that's important. But Ta-Nehisi Coates also
Thank
talked about the fact that, white people are putting their bodies in front of these immigrants, which is the same thing that happened during the abolitionist movement. And so these coalitions do work. And we also hear that one of the reasons why Minnesota is being highlighted is because they are so multicultural and they do
right.
care about their neighbors. So it may be this little place that's sort of telling the story of how the country actually can be. I don't know that we'll get there in my lifetime, but I do know that um, that it will take all of us. It will not happen just with Black people or white people. It will happen when people come together, and it won't happen with just Democrats. It will be Democrats and Republicans and Independents. Those people who recognize it's going to take a lot to get there. None of us are perfect. Everybody will have their issues, but at the end of the day, what the heart of it has to be is humanity and freedom.
Well, yeah, let's hope that not in our like in our lifetime, possibly. I think we have a lot to deal with. I want to say that when I think about the fight ahead, and I know that we're trying to talk about that today, we know that we have to prepare, right? There's so many ways that we are talking about, like in Virginia, we have seen that Trump he's rigging the maps in North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. He's obviously asked for those votes. So Virginia is responding, right? We're responding with the amendment that will be go in front of the Supreme Court. Hopefully this week in Virginia, we're going to find out if it will go forward. If so, it's going to be on a ballot initiative April 21st in Virginia, and that's the Yes campaign. So when we talk about the fight ahead, we have to say we have to prepare, right? We have to fight where we know they're cheating, which are trying to rig the map. So we're going all in, and that's just our state. There's other states trying to prepare as well. Then we have to think about how we're going to win the fight in voting. So I want to remind everybody some of the bad is the SAVE Act is back on the docket in another bill which they're determined to pass. It's like a Make America Great kind of bill called Meta or whatever. So I want to talk about that, like our voting and preparing for what's coming at us. I said to you today, look, these people are doing all this bad shit. There is no way they want to lose because they're all going to jail. They're all committing crimes and they're all corrupt. They cannot lose this election. So my feeling is we got to do this map stuff in Virginia. We also have to talk about how do we protect our vote.
Yeah, so let me do two things.
Yeah.
One, I want to go back and just sort of talk a little bit about
Mhm.
the Yes campaign,
Oh, please
about
do.
what it
Yeah.
is, because I'm going to assume that there's some folks on here who don't know what the Yes campaign is, and so I want to say very clearly what it is. And by the way, there are videos out there that are really very, very good. We've talked about gerrymandering forever, and quite frankly, if you had asked me years ago, I wasn't politically aware enough to pay attention to what it was. But
Right.
really, all it was is that Republicans basically cheated. They just took maps that you should have said 50-50, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and they just drew them really weird so that they would end up with more seats. So instead of sending maybe 4 people to Congress, they ended up sending 6 or 8, and
Right.
Democrats got none, which is why we would end up with more people voting for Democrats with less seats. So we had more people, but less power. So now, because of what Trump is doing with North Carolina and Texas and Florida and Missouri and Tennessee, might be some others, he said to them, hey guys, I want you to go and redraw these maps. Even though the census isn't here yet, I want you to go and draw them so that you can draw out Democrats and get more seats for Republicans. And that's just terrible because they've been doing it all along,
Right.
but now they're gonna do it even harder. So that instead of getting those 218 seats, which I think we can get more, they would draw it so that they would end up getting more votes, getting more seats without having to really do anything. They'd just be safe red seats. And typically, as Democrats, we would just say, well, that is not right. And we don't gerrymander and we don't do that kind of stuff. So we're just not going to do anything. And as the best example that's been told to us is this: if I have a basketball team and I've got 5 players, you got 5 players, and we go to halftime, and when after halftime is over, you come back with 10 players and I still have 5, what would you do?
Right.
So you could say, well, the game says you're only supposed to have 5, so I'm only going to play with 5 while you still play with your 10. Well, you wouldn't do that. You would say, okay, obviously the game has changed and I'm going to fight the fight that I'm in. So I'm going to go find me 5 more players too. And that's what California did. And Virginia is going to do the same thing. When they rig the game, we're going to say, we're not going to take that. We're going to fight back, but we're going to do something better. We're not just going to do it behind closed doors. We're going to let the people understand what's happening and we're
Right.
going to let them vote on it. And then after this is over, we're going to go back in 2030 to the maps that we've all agreed on. So we're going to fight the fight that we're in because you asked us to fight. And so we're going to fight. And that's what's going to happen on April 21st, is that we're going to let the voters decide we should redraw these maps so that we can have a level playing field when we go to Congress. That's it.
That's it. I like it. Well, that's one way. I mean, like I said, Virginia, we're getting ready for that yes campaign to we're getting prepared. And I think when I think about the good, the bad, and the ugly and how to think about this fight is they don't want to lose. So in August, they're going to trigger this pass the SAVE Act or the other act. And this will throw things in kind of a disorder or chaos because people will have to get their paperwork in order. I know that that's one of these things that I get worried about, not, but worried about in a sense, not worried. I think it's smart for us to think that what are they going to do? Because there's no way, if we're preparing for this fight, that they're just going to let us go vote. Because what happened in Texas? People voted and they lost, and they know they're going to lose. Now, the good side of this, and I said this to you today, look, we can't just sort of wring our hands and be all worried about SAVE Act because they're going to do the filibuster. They're going to do whatever it takes because the Supreme Court's not held them back either. And we'll see what they're going to do on stuff. So, what are we going to do? That is talking to people, getting this paperwork in order if possible, right? But I also think this may actually, in the end, backfire on them because truly the people that can vote may just vote them all out. I mean, you can't control that part of the equations right now. They don't care about Republicans. They don't care about Democrats. They care about keeping power. So, I mean, I think, that's just something to think about when we think about planning, right? And then we know the ICE in the Minnesota and the kind of weaponry they're using is to scare people and keep people home. So we have to be prepared. And even Senator Warner said, making sure that when they are passing laws right now to keep ICE and these agents away from polling places, away and out of states, because I'll tell you, they're going to try that. And the last thing that Trump will do, because he's crazy, is he will do martial law. I think we should think about that. And I think we should have a plan for every which way. And why I say this is even tonight, it's just not me saying this. They are planning for this. The secretaries of states have all gotten together, Republican and Democrat, after Pam Bondi asked for the voting rolls. And they said, what are we going to do? What contingency plans should we make? So you and everybody in the room, everybody listening in, this is how we roll. We have to think ahead. We can't be on our back foot. Contingency plans. And I'm glad to see these secretaries of state saying, how do we protect our state from this executive orders that may not, the bill that they may pass, the Senate eventually passes, and then martial law. Look, what they did in Fulton County, we talked about this last week. They went in and took the voter data. What the hell are they doing with it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I will say, strategy is everything, and
Yeah.
strategy is planning for the unexpected. And so what is the unexpected? Well, actually, nothing should be unexpected. If they say it, they're probably gonna figure out how to do it. And so we saw that on January 6th. And so I do hope that, well, I was gonna say our Democratic leaders, but I don't really know what to say about that. I'm not gonna
What are you going to say about it? You're going to say that maybe we know what they said last time, right? we went back. Remember, and who wants it? Could I just get mean for a second when I talk about
Just for a
that?
second, and that's it.
This way, not mean, but just when I think back on Joe Manchin and again, and Krista Sinema on that vote where they wouldn't pass the John Lewis Voting Act. This is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy. Again, we talk about our leaders and they go, they'll never break the filibuster. Oh, yes, they will. And so, look, we got a plan. And I think it's not hiding from it. It's speaking to people, it's educating people, and it's getting out there, making sure people are ready and prepared for what's ahead. Pack your bag.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there are 2 things, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
change the subject for just a
Oh,
second.
yeah, go ahead.
I I I was listening to Steve Schmidt today, and usually I don't listen to him because I don't really like him. But I the TV was on, and I came in to listen to him, and there were 2 things that I thought were really important.
He's good
So,
at mhm.
yeah, so protesters, the Trump administration or regime is now calling them agitators, which is the same thing that they called Dr. Martin Luther King. And and then they're calling detention centers. But you know what? We should be calling their detention centers concentration camps
Yes,
because
sir.
that's what they are.
Yes.
And so they name everything. So they're wanting people to think that, everybody who's protesting is an agitator, which we should be clear, agitators on January 6th, what that looks like versus what these protesters look like. So I do think that there is a battle in the media and a battle in terms of people really
Yeah.
showing what's happening. We have an opportunity to win that battle. That's why your whatever social media that you have, you are someone's trusted
Yeah.
a person, information person. And so, as a trusted person source, that's why email and text messaging and your Facebook and your Instagram, sending people's messages, sending it forwarded on, you are a trusted messenger. You need to do that. So, just
Yeah.
pay attention though to how they frame things. And we have to be really deliberate about how we're framing things to our audiences too, so that they understand what we're fighting against.
No, it's true. And I think that I was listening to Tim Miller interview talking about this other hard fact is this the facts are they just lie constantly now. I mean, if you go back to 16, you'd hear lie mostly from Trump. But now we're seeing a lie come out of everybody's mouth. And so, there is no honesty. Any department right now, everything is a total lie. And I think now, like you said, the coordinated lie of it, for instance, about the protesters calling domestic terrorists, they can name it that way so they can arrest us. I think that what I love to see on TV, they have gotten at some takedowns between Republicans and Democrats in discussion, calling attention to actually these lies, which is really important for people to hear the discussion. The more they can hear of that, um, because it's the facts are right in front of us. So we are seeing it with our eyes and ears so that when they lie now, actually, people can actually see what they're saying does not line up. And that's really good to break through the cult. You have to make sure that those things are now, they have been breaking through, that they break through more. And the Minnesota thing, they're trying to reframe it into calling us, they're saying Minnesota is an insurrection. These are
Mhm.
insurrections. So we actually, in our words, have to use honest words to say what is going on and counter and constantly, like you said, reframe it. Concentration camps. We see, the behavior of these agents. They're not police. They had taken off their ICE thing and put police on. They're not law enforcement agents. They're actually acting lawlessly. And I can't imagine, it's just crazy to see that fight. So I agree with you. The hard part is really not hardly any honest partners on the larger level. Um, it's gotten really bad, to get to have people say the truth, right? Or just it's amazing how comfortable they are with lying.
Yeah, well, we talked about that in our time is that we're 50 seconds over.
Oh,
So I got 2 things. We
you
talked
said
about that with A we talked about that with Amy Siskin when she was on, is that
yes.
they just
Oh
sort
my
of
God.
lie right in your face, and they lie and say, "There's nothing you can do about it." But I wanted to do 2 things, to say that I thought were important. The first one really is the fact that there is no neutral space in America anymore. You have to pick a side. It's all gone. It's all taken up. Every single thing is political. This is the start of Black History Month today, February 1st, which is really important. It's celebrating 100 years. So I think that that is really, really big. And so we got to think about that. And then I think the other thing is I was able to see some press releases from the ACLU. It's marking their first year since Trump came back in, and it's really awesome. They've got some fantastic videos that help tell the story. They are focused on three things that all that we care about: free speech, immigration rights, and equal protections for everyone under the law. So I think that's a really wonderful place to sort of think about ending, is
Love.
because
Mhm. I
good
agree, and
news.
there is so much opportunity in Black History Month, especially when we really know that in this fight we see just in Philadelphia, the parks taking down Black history placards. They're trying to erase history. This is we're in this fight. Here we are again, and we understand. Look, that we are in community. We're going to meet every week, get our coffee, get our blankies, talk it out, and just try to figure out about the fight ahead. So my ending would be: we have some good things that we have to celebrate. Liam came home. 5-year-old came
That's
home
right.
with his dad. That meant that congressmen went there and fought for him, got in the media, and Don Lemon came home. Actually, elevating the arrest of him is really going to elevate the situation that we're in, also. And, the secondary media is actually the best media now. The people on Substack, the people like Don Lemon, the legacy media is not doing their job, but these folks are, and I think that's why they're going after him. But it really calls attention. So, in the good, bad, and the ugly, we see a lot of good punching through. We got to look at the ugly straight on, and we have to know how to fight with our, fight. Like I said, I want to be with my ride or die folks for sure. And we have to look at, as activists, we have to look ahead, and we have to just face it and not hide from it. And then I think in that way, we're more prepared. Um, we're more prepared and we're smarter, and we will, some way in Virginia, we're going to see this ahead with the Yes campaign to get people revved up to say yes to stop Trump, and join us on that. We'll have more information coming. So, anyways, Fennell Norton.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. We really appreciate you being with us. This is the best 30 minutes of my weekend so far.
Yeah. And I really didn't think I'd have much to talk about. I was so tired we talked all day about the Yes campaign. But you know what, friend, it's always great to see you too. It's always fun. And I'm glad you already ate dinner. So now you can go relax.
I will. Goodbye,
Bye. Bye.
everybody. Goodbye.
Good night.